Hello, and welcome to She Leads Biotech, the podcast that celebrates women leaders in the bioscience space. I'm your host, Sharon Cox, CEO and Managing Director of CNA International, based right here in New York. And each week I'll be talking to women leaders about their work, their triumphs and challenges, providing invaluable insight into how women can unlock their superpowers and succeed on their own terms. So whether you're navigating your own career path in bioscience or you're passionate about science and innovation, I hope you're empowered and inspired by each episode. Today's guest has a PhD in biophysics. She's a research scientist, entrepreneur, innovator, board member, investor, mum, and triathlete. I've no idea how she fits it all in, but I'm really looking forward to finding out. Please welcome Deborah Hemingway. Deborah, hello. Thank you for joining us. Well, you're definitely not in DC, that's for sure. Where are you?
Yes, no, I'm not in DC at the moment. I am just outside of Siesta Key, so we're on a little family vacation in Florida, but I'm happy to connect.
Beautiful. And where is Siesta Keys? Because I know Florida quite well, and I've spent many a happy time there. That's on the west side, the east side?
Yeah, west side, Gulf side, near
Oh,
Sarasota. Yeah.
I love Sarasota. And Naples. I love Naples
Yep.
as well.
Yeah,
So,
beautiful area.
well, brilliant. Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Yes, wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
Gosh, you've done so much, which we'll get to. But did I read this right? You bought your first stock at age 5?
Oh, yes, I did.
So tell me what led into that. What early? This is obviously something you wanted to do from an early age.
Yes.
Tell me the intro. Tell me the story.
Yes. Well, my father was a finance professor, and we had been, just talking about finance around the dinner table. And of course, I wanted to get involved in anything that my dad was involved in. And so I asked him if we could do it, if I could buy a stock that was my own in my own name. And he said, of course we could. And then, like any good 5-year-old, I picked McDonald's. And
Of
so
course.
bought McDonald's, had a pretty good run as long as I held it. But that was my first stock.
Excellent. So what's your journey? What you started out? Is it something you'd always wanted to be involved in bioscience? How did you get involved?
Yes. I've always been a unique blend of both business and science. Started from a young age. You mentioned the influence of my father buying stocks in kindergarten. But then also I had the science influence from my mother, who was a veterinarian. So at the dinner table, whenever we weren't analyzing company performance, we were talking about how whatever dinner we were eating that day looked like whatever surgery my mom had done.
Oh,
Quite a unique childhood.
so you did your PhD in bioscience. Is it
Biophysics.
biophysics?
Yeah.
So what made you choose that?
Yes, well, I've always been interested, in the sciences, and I love physics. I'm a physicist, and some people think that's a bit nerdy, and maybe it is, but that's who I am. And biophysics specifically is the application of the principles of physics to biological systems. So I thought that was a really wonderful field, combining both physics and biology. So yeah, I did my dissertation in that field and really enjoyed it.
Excellent. And so you're in venture capitalists now.
Yes.
So how was that journey? Because you've done that via sort of research scientist, you're an innovator. How did you get through? What was the journey to that?
Yes. Well, I mentioned, being involved in the finance scene from a young age. I also had led a number of startup companies myself, and none of them were, too wildly successful, but it was enough success to get me excited about entrepreneurship. And I definitely got bit by the entrepreneurship bug at a really young age. And then during grad school, I actually became in a place where I was fortunate enough to be able to begin angel investing. And angel investing, it's when you are putting some of your own money into other startups to help them get off the ground. And I just found that to be so rewarding. I'd been there as a CEO, and I knew how tough it was and how hard it was and how hard the CEOs are working to launch these startup companies. And I was really, really thrilled to be able to contribute in a financial way to the startup companies. So I got involved with angel investing at the Dingman Center for Entrepreneurship, which was on campus at the University of Maryland College Park while I was, working on my PhD at the time at the university. And yeah, I kept it going. After I graduated, I continued to invest in and support these startup companies, and then just parlayed that into Ecphora Capital. And so that's where I am now. My firm is Ecphora Capital, and we're really, really loving supporting these early stage medical device companies.
I'll be honest, I know very little about venture capitalists, and I come across them obviously in my work as a recruiter. But what exactly do you do? Who do you choose, and how do people get funding with you?
Yes. Okay. We'll spend the next hour talking about all of this.
In a nutshell.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question, what do we do? Well, venture capital, it's a form of private equity in which, in most cases, I'm usually purchasing a piece of a company. So the stage of the company determines the valuation of the company and thereby how much of the company I'm purchasing when I give them money. But I'm putting money into the companies to help them achieve certain milestones. So what I'm doing, in short, is just buying small pieces of companies, buying small pieces of small companies, actually.
And is that so you may put some in, and then there'd be other companies that would put some in to make the full sum that the company needs to get to its next stage?
Yes. So angel investing is one-on-one. It's whenever you're putting your own money in, and that's how I got started, just putting my own money into one company at a time. But now that I'm in venture capital, I'm also investing on behalf of the limited partners. That's the other investors who have invested via my firm into these startup companies. So I now have other people investing along beside me, which is wonderful. It's also, pressured, very intimidating. Now other people are trusting you with their money. It's one thing when you lose your own money, but you do not want to lose other people's money. So
right.
It's a bit more high stakes, but very, very enjoyable.
And what do you look for when people come to you and say, hey, do you want to give me $1 million or whatever it is?
Yeah.
What are you looking for from that person that makes you feel, yeah, this is the one? Is it a gut feeling? Is it?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
So I can't come to you with just a random idea on the back of a cigarette packet or something and say, hey, what do you think of this, Deb? It looks good.
So I'll tell you like it is, if it's how my opinion. And that's one thing I do try to be really straightforward with my CEOs. And I do try to tell them, even if it's what they don't really want to hear at the time, I do try to give them honest and direct feedback because I feel like that's the best way to grow. So what is it that I look for? We know the stats about startups and the percentage of startups that fail. And, it is a very high risk asset class. And there's a lot of risk associated with these early stage companies and with entrepreneurship in general. It's a very, very high risk. For me, that risk is very exciting and I love being a part of it. But it does take a strong stomach. So what we have done is we have put a method in place, and this is our investment thesis, of de-risking the companies as much as possible. Because what you want to do is you want to get in and you want to know what companies are going to make it and what companies are not going to make it. And then obviously you don't fund the ones that aren't going to make it, and you only put the money in the companies that are going to make it. But the question is, how do you find that? Like, how do you know which companies are going to make it, which ones aren't? So that's where the skill comes in. And then that's why people work with venture capitalists. So for us in my firm, we've teased it out to 4 key parameters that are at the heart of what we look at. Because we're dealing with a lot of early stage companies now. We're looking at seed and Series A. And at that stage, the companies will not be on the market yet, meaning that they're still getting ready to go to the market. If a company's already on market, that means they already have sales. That means they're already generating revenue. You can see how people are buying it, who's buying it. But if you don't have that data point, it's very important to do a lot of homework on it to make sure that there's a very strong, what's called product market fit. So basically this means who wants the product and how bad do they want it and why are they buying it? So we push our companies really hard on getting as much data as they can to support this idea, because every CEO tells you that there's companies, amazing and it's going to change the world and that everyone's going to buy it whenever we get there. But how do you know that that's actually true? And so for me, because I am a physicist and a PhD, and a nerd, like we mentioned. Right. Look, I love the data. And so I'm like, okay, what data can you show me? What evidence do you have that shows me that there's a very strong product market fit? What is the pain point? What is the hair on fire problem? How do you know that once you get to market, that people are actually going to buy this? Because if it's just something that is a nice, that'd be nice to have. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, that's a very cool products, that's not going to be enough for market adoption. What we want are things that are going to just get people so excited. The term hair on fire means that if your hair's on fire, that's the first thing you're going to do. So what we want is if this product's on the market, that's the first thing they're going to do is run out and grab this. So whoever the customer is. Yep. So that's the first key thing that we look for is this idea of the product market fit, the need in the market that you're solving. The next thing that we're looking at is the technical feasibility. A lot of what we do, a lot of our companies have very deep tech, and it's a really exciting place to be, on the forefront of innovation. But we also have to make sure that the science is sound and that it's going to work, because a lot of the innovation that we work with is just coming out of a research lab, maybe an academic or government institution. And so we want to make sure that bridge, from becoming a very cool, innovative product in the lab is going to actually be commercially viable, and that you can actually make it at a commercial level. And that's not an easy technical jump. It's not as easy or straightforward as people would think, coming out of the lab, moving to a manufacturer-ready version. So we spend a lot of times with the companies and with our engineering partners, making sure that the companies have worked through the kinks and they do know what their product aim goals are, and especially in terms of reaching the minimum viable product. The minimum viable product is the first product that you launch with. And that's not the product with all the bells and whistles. That's just the product that gets you out to market and solves whatever that key pain point is that you identified in the first part, which is finding the product market fit. All right, so far I've covered 2 of the 4 things that we look at: product market fit, technical feasibility. The next thing is the protection. So specifically, we look at the patent portfolio. What IP do you have? What type of protection do you have from competitors? And it is arguable that I've heard people say that, in 10 years, AI is going to completely obliterate the patent landscape. Yeah, we'll see, if that happens. But for now, we do want to see patent protection.
I'm more concerned about them taking over the world with AI. That's just having robots coming along and, we have to bow to the robots, but that's just that.
Yes. Well, first the patents, and then the next step, the world. So
okay,
we do see patent protection for now, and then finally we have our companies begin with the end in mind. And what that means is, what's the exit? Like, what's the exit plan? And this is arguably the most important thing that we look at, although it's all equally important across the board. But we want to know what's the exit price, how much you can exit for, and at what time and what milestones do you have to meet to get to this exit price. Yep. So everyone wants to be a unicorn and exit, for $1 billion+ dollars. How realistic is that in your field? And in your field, what will it take to get there? So if you want to be a unicorn, what milestones do the other unicorns in your field, what milestones have they met? Well, how much sales do they have? How big is their company? What's their revenue and everything? So you can show us, how you can get to that point, whatever that point is. And this is pretty significant in terms of venture capital. Angel investing, you have a little more flexibility on it. Like, if you're an angel and you like a product, but they don't have a very large exit, you could still invest because you have a good relationship with the founder. But in venture capital, there is a lot of importance on the exit and what that multiple can be. Yep. So for things with very, very big exits.
Yeah, you want to make sure you're going to get your money and some, right?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, we love it when every single company can cover the entire the entire portfolio. So we look for a very, very significant return in terms of the exit, and we want to keep on how you can actually get there.
So do you have one demographic that you go to? Do you only invest in women-led businesses, or you only invest in biotechs, or do you have a varied portfolio of your own?
Yes. Well, although I am in Florida right now, we are heavily invested in Maryland. And I did have a call on my team back in Maryland this morning, and they're all doing a great job holding down the fort. So for us, we are Maryland-based, Maryland-focused, and we are looking at Maryland-based companies. Okay. For our first fund is exclusively for the future funds and future investments. We are looking to branch out, throughout the Maryland, Virginia, and DC region, and then eventually throughout the Mid-Atlantic. But for right now, our heart's in Maryland. We want to see Maryland grow and continue to strengthen our position right now as a world leader in the medical commercialization space.
So you mentioned that you were checking in with your team this morning. How many of you are there? How many make up your team?
Yes. Well, I'm the managing partner. So it is my firm. And then I have 12 people that I call on as need be, for different projects. So I'm the only full-time person. And then we're very, lean with the part-time people. They're working with multiple firms and multiple funds at the same time. Okay. We also rely on AI. So we do leverage AI very heavily in our firm. We really appreciated the extra bandwidth that leveraging AI can give us.
So what do you find are the challenges for you as a venture capitalist dealing with people who are looking to you finance them in some shape or form? What challenges have you come up against? Because you don't strike me as a typical, My venture capitalist is generally a man in a suit that's done up to here. And so you'd be like a breath of fresh air. But what are you facing when being you?
Yes, thank you. Well, there is something that I like that I do intentionally do, and that is I have a very intentional introduction that I give people whenever I'm talking to them, especially about venture capital. Here this is pretty informal. We're just having fun at the beach, just hanging out right now. But I am aware that oftentimes in this field, women aren't taken seriously as much as really that they should be. And so, I'm very intentional about establishing my credibility first and speaking to potential investors in a way that they can relate to and in a way that builds credibility for me. So being very intentional about that introduction is the first thing that I typically do whenever I'm meeting investors and meeting new people.
Okay. But what do you find you come up against when you then have to, that bit's not enough? You've shown your credibility, but there's still, or is there, or is that generally enough? Or are there other areas that you have to sort of overcome?
Let's see. I guess one thing that I do deal with quite frequently is just that there's so many incredible opportunities. And I find myself like chasing like all these different exciting opportunities in front of me. I mean, just for me personally, a challenge that I face is just staying focused on my game plan. And my team does help me with this. They help me like stay focused and grounded and keeping me on track. Because I do have more of the visionary dreamer personality. And so having the grounded team in place is certainly beneficial, especially for me and in my own firm. And I will say also that, building a firm, it's like a flywheel. The flywheel metaphor is so true here because at the beginning, it is really tough. It's very hard to get yourself established. You're trying to build your track record. You experience a lot of closed doors and maybe you're treading water, but then suddenly things start to move and the flywheel moves a little bit and it's really exciting. And so for me and my firm, I'm at the place right now where that flywheel that has seemed so stubborn and so still in the past is finally starting to move. And that is really exciting because all the work that I'm putting in, I see now that it's moving towards something achievable. And I've been building the foundation and just excited to get that flywheel spinning.
And I think that's the important thing, isn't it? Is because I've been on a very similar journey. Obviously, I came here from the UK. I didn't know anybody, didn't have any business. I'd just been a recruiter forever, and really had to kind of take those steps, make those introductions. But I think as long as you foundations are solid, then it may take a while, but once those wheels do start turning and it does move, there's less risk that it's all going to sink because actually the foundations are there. And I think the foundations, I know we talked about this and I don't want to use it as a buzzword, but it's about the authenticity.
Yeah.
You as the leader. I mean, for me with my company, it's really important that people get to know me and then trust me because they know me or not, as the case may be, having known me. Do you find the same thing? How important is that to you?
Yes. I mean, obviously being authentic is so, so important. And for me, I understand that, my traits, my good sides and my downsides will have ramifications throughout my firm. And so, I am being very intentional on my company culture and what we're trying to put in place, whether that's clear communication, open discussion, honest feedback. I'm just living with an intentionality and focusing on what matters most. That is something that we've, really put at the forefront of what we're doing at my firm. So yes, absolutely. Authenticity first and foremost.
And living those values, whatever you say, these are our values, it's that you can live them rather than them just being buzzwords.
Yes, that's absolutely true. And we even have it in our name. So the name of my firm is Ecphora Capital. And Ecphora is actually the Maryland state fossil. So you guys may not know this little bit of trivia, but there you go. We have a state fossil in Maryland. It is the Ecphora. And it is a little snail shell. They're pretty small. They're made by a creature. The creature's extinct now, but the shell lives on. The fossil has endured. The fossils endured the test of time, all types of adversity. It was built with integrity and is robust. And at Ecphora Capital, we're building an enduring legacy, just like that little shell. So
I can't wait for that question to come up on Jeopardy so that I can just scream out the answer. Because there's not many that I can scream out the answer to, but that might well be one of them. That's fascinating. So, I mean, biotech as an industry is ever evolving. There's always something going on. Is there anything you can tell us about current trends or future trends in biotech that have got you excited?
Yes. Well, look, I get excited about everything. Oh,
I guess
man.
AI is a really big one right now, right?
Yes, of course, of course. For me, we're looking at a deal right now that's in regenerative medicine. And so that one is very exciting to me. It's Maryland based, very cool technology. We have an implantable that's exciting, that's tech enabled in the implantable. We have new methods right now of alleviating hospital burden and moving procedures from the operating room to bedside. We have personalized medicine, drug delivery. Yes, we're right at the forefront of all those trends.
There's a lot happening
Yes.
on that as well. And it is really very exciting. So what's the future for you?
Yeah, so we are working on a couple deals. We have 3 deals that we're closing right now and one more on the way. So we're working on getting those wrapped up and really excited about supporting these, like I said, Maryland-based companies. And we're growing my firm. We're always raising capital and deploying that in Maryland. And we will continue to do that and support Maryland and the region. So,
And then look to move beyond that.
yes,
Today, Maryland, tomorrow, the world.
that's right.
Which actually takes me right the way back to the beginning because you do so much. I mean, you're a mum
Yeah.
as well as being a business owner, an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're a board member. How do you do it all?
Well, I am very strategic with what I do and with my time. And I have a philosophy in life that I feel like has really freed up a lot of bandwidth in my life. And that is that I only do the things that only I can do. So outsource everything possible. And I know a lot of people like to do things themselves or, feel like this sense of pride when they're doing their work. I don't have that. I'm more happy when I let someone else really do everything possible. So for me, I spend as much time as I can with my kids, loving on them and being a good mom to them. And I spend as much time as I can with my firm, growing my firm and setting the vision and moving us strategically forward. So anything else other than that, I outsource. And yep.
Well, it obviously works.
Yes, it has been really good for me. It also makes it's a way to live like a really happy life too, and just getting to focus on the things that you just really truly enjoy, and then giving the stuff you don't like to someone else. I have my business partner actually really enjoys paperwork. That's his thing. He loves doing admin, so I'm like, thank you so much. Please have a wonderful day. I will also have a wonderful day. I'm not doing this paperwork right now. Thank you.
But the job still gets done. It's just recognizing perhaps who is best suited to doing that particular task or that particular area of whatever it is, both business and personal, right?
Yes. And this kind of goes into my leadership style too. So for me, I like to just pick the best person for the job and make sure that they have the right skill set to do it and the tools to do it. And then I just tell them what the goals are and let them just execute on it. And so that has worked really well for my team. And even at, my house, I have a very strong support system. I tell them what needs to get done, and then I just let them execute on what needs to happen.
And a lot of that comes with trust as well. If you're going to hand over so much to people, is recognizing what their strengths are,
Yes.
but then trusting them to do what needs to be done, right?
Yes, 100%. I mean, that's really the biggest thing I would say. Finding good people that you trust and that are going to do a good job, and then letting them just knock it out while you sit back at the beach.
Yeah, as you can see, I'm not at the beach. I'd like to get to that point, but we've probably got a bit of a way to go yet. So I'm very conscious. I want you to be able to get back to your vacation. I'm just getting more and more jealous by the minute as I'm seeing that background there. So I'm going to look to wrap this up. But what advice would you have for particularly upcoming women entrepreneurs, people who want to be where you are and they want to be doing what you're doing, particularly being at the beach? But what advice would you give to people starting out on this journey?
Okay. And do they want to be entrepreneurs or venture capitalists or maybe a little bit of both? Maybe they're figuring it
Yeah,
out.
who knows?
Okay, so if you're interested in entrepreneurship, I'd say the first thing that you do is you start with a problem and you find like what that need is. And it should be a need that you're passionate about solving. The need is going to be whatever it is, but first look for the need. Sometimes people will come to me with technology. They're like, oh, I'm a PhD student in the lab and like, this is my technology. What can I use for this? I'm like, well, I can't tell you actually. I actually can't tell you because I'm not in this market. And so I don't know what you can use this for. Maybe nothing, or maybe you're going to change the world. I'm not one of the customers, so I can't speak to that. So what they need to do is go out and find the problem first and get started with the problem. So that's the very first step that you would take if you want to become an entrepreneur, setting that foundation, making sure you have a really strong foundation in place of what problem you're going to solve. But even before that, I would say like taking another step back even and figuring out, why you want to become a CEO. Like, do you like the freedom? Well, with the freedom also comes instability. Okay. And so do you like taking risk? Well, with the risk, there is also a chance of things not working out. And like, for me, like things have not worked out more times than I will admit on this interview. Okay. But
That's always great, though. I mean, that's just great for all of us to be able to say, well, actually, I did things and they didn't work, but I got back up again and tried again. I think that's more important than something not working. It's that keeping going at something, right?
yes, absolutely. Keeping going and like just having that grit and that perseverance. I mean, look, the reason I'm successful right now is because I didn't give up. And
Yep.
that's the only reason. Like that just kept going. And that really has been probably contributed most of my success. It's just that determination to keep going. And I see that like throughout my life, like even looking back to like my PhD program, like that was so hard. Biophysics is no joke. Okay. It is
I
no
bet.
joke. It was so hard. Oh my gosh. But I just like, I kept going and I just kept trying, kept persevering through that. Just starting my companies, like every time my company failed, every time, you just keep going. You just say, wow, what did I learn from this experience? And then, just from that, you take little pieces from everything and then you just use it to make yourself better and wiser and stronger and keep it going. And then one day you'll see that, wow, you were just building the foundation of this flywheel. And wow, the flywheel, it's starting to spin and the flywheel's moving and things are picking up. And so it's a really rewarding place to be. So just keep pushing on that flywheel and it'll get there.
And I just think that's so important for people to hear from somebody like you, because there is a natural thing for people to take a look at somebody and say, they've got it all. They're successful, they're this, they're that, without actually knowing what's gone on in the background to get to that. And I think, keeping the passion, I think passion is also very important with what you're doing to keep you going, because if you're not passionate about something, I don't think it matters how successful you are. It's not going to stay around for very long. So, and that, as you say, that grit and determination to get back up when would be so easy sometimes to just go, do you know what? I'll leave it. But, you get back up, you go again. And as you say, take what you learn and what did work, what didn't work, what won't I do again, what can I do differently? So I really appreciate you sharing that, because I just think that's so important for people to hear, that things can look so rosy on the outside all the time. And I hear people use that word luck, oh, you're so lucky that such and such has happened, or so and so is so lucky because they got to this. And it's the work that's gone on behind all of that luck isn't there on the surface, but it's mighty powerful.
Well, I will say this. No one called me lucky when my companies failed. No one called me lucky when I was like crying about, am I going to finish my PhD program? No one called me lucky when I'm like really stressed out because like my kids are crying and like I don't know what to do. Yep. So there is that side of it, but just keep going and just chin up.
Well, listen, thank you very much for taking time out from your vacation to share your story with us today. I have absolutely no doubt you're going to be a huge success with everything you do, and I look forward to following your journey. And maybe if I'm ever in the Maryland or DC area, we can grab a cocktail or something and share stories. But I will let you get back to your vacation. your kids have been so patient, bless them. So I'll let you get back to that and enjoy the rest of your time. And I look forward to speaking soon. All right. Take good care.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Well, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. She Leads Biotech is brought to you by CNA International USA, a woman-owned boutique search firm based in New York. If you're looking to hire talent for your company or want support in achieving your career goals, please reach out to me at contact@cnaint.com. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. And remember, the success of every woman should be an inspiration to another. So don't be afraid to share yours. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.